Friends, it is a joy and a gift to be here with you. This is the second time ever that I've seen Pastor David in person, which is important to note because for 5 years, I wasn't sure he actually existed. My wife and I did the Bible in 90 Days with y'all, and we're a part of one of the online discussions for that about 5 years ago. And we got to talk with Pastor David and Megan on a weekly basis, which was wonderful. And for a long time, I was certain that he was just AI generated. That he didn't actually exist because I'd never actually met him in person, and no matter how many times I tried to, something always got in the way of it. I came to a synod assembly down here, which if any of you have been, you can know how much of a trek that was just to see him, and he played hooky and didn't show up to it. And so finally, we got to meet earlier this year in person. I found out that he actually is real, that he does exist, and then shortly afterward, he said, "Hey, you're going to come to my church and preach," and I was so excited because I knew I was going to get to see him for a second time in person. I am the campus pastor at Texas Lutheran University, which is, as I tell everyone, my dream job. I get to do for others what was done to me as a student there. I get to help talk about vocation, to walk alongside students as they are, for the first time for many of them, taking on their own identity and taking on their own challenges in living their adult lives. And I get to walk with them through some of the brightest moments and the darkest moments of their lives. It is a gift. It is something that I cherish. And it also allows me the opportunity on Sundays to come to places like this and to preach and to share the good news with the good people of different congregations. And I have to say that I would much rather come to Houston than go up to Dallas. And there are a couple of reasons. One, because I can be around people who understand my love of the Astros. That's right, I've got a few people very excited about that. They won last night, by the way. It was a great game. And two, y'all actually have HEB. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal because Kroger is not as good as HEB. HEB is the pinnacle of grocery shopping. I am certain of this, and everyone has those hills that they'll die on that are not really hills that you should ever die on. I will die on this hill. HEB is the greatest grocery store in the entire world. Oh, wow, yeah. There is one, though, that I will not go into, and that's the HEB in Burnett, Texas, where I grew up. Because you see, as a kid, as a teenager, every time I went into that HEB, without fail, I would hear, "Aren't you Mary Bird's son?" My name is Wes Cain. My last name is Cain. My mom's maiden name is Bird. I am pretty sure that about 83% of the residents of Burnett, Texas are in some way related to my mom's side of the family. And so it was impossible for me to go anywhere in that town, especially the one grocery store, greatest grocery store, without seeing either someone that I was related to or someone that knew my mom and therefore knew me through my mom. Honestly, there wasn't anywhere I could go in Burnett without that identity following me. Everywhere I went as Mary Bird's son. I went as Jean Bird's grandson. I went as the son of my dad and mom, and also the nephew of her 7 siblings. I went as the grandson of my grandparents, my papa and mama, as we called them, and also their siblings and cousins. I went as the great something grandson of one of the original founders of the settlement that became Burnett, Texas. And so it was impossible for me to escape this identity. I could not just be me. I was a continuation of everyone who had come before me. Thank God my dad's side of the family is from Lake Jackson, because if it was both of them, that might have been too much. The people of God knew that this truth, though, was universal, that it's not just about me going into Burnett's HEB, but we are all an amalgamation, a continuation of all of those who have come before us. They believed that each person continued the story of those who had come before. And that's why it was essential that the gospel writer included Jesus' genealogy in the gospel story, which, by the way, amazing reading of that. But can you imagine how important that would be for a people who care so much about genealogy to hear Jesus is Joseph's son? Joseph's the one that fixed our roof after that storm. Or Jesus is the great-grandson of Mathat. He's the one that fell to Roman blades. Or Joseph is the descendant of Melchi, the one who returned to the promised land from Babylon. Or Joseph is the descendant of David and Bathsheba, the people who hold the highest of highs of our story and the lowest of lows. Jesus is the descendant of Ruth and Boaz, the kinsman redeemer and the fiercely loyal immigrant, the descendant of Selah and Rahab, the prostitute turned savior, the descendant of Judah and Tamar, the child of Israel and the defiant and determined one. He's the descendant of Jacob and Leah, Isaac and Rebekah, Sarah and Abraham, Eve and Adam. All of these people are a part of who Jesus is. All of them are a part of the continuing story that he is telling simply by living. A story with the highest of highs, yes, but also the lowest of lows. A story of covenants made and of covenants broken. A story of human dignity acknowledged and ignored. A story of slavery and redemption, oppression and salvation. And this is the story that Jesus tells. This is part of the role that Jesus holds, to honor that story, to honor those people, to honor his parents and everyone else who came before. For just as much as he is a part of their story, they are a part of his. And this, my friends, is what our commandment today is all about. Exodus 20:12 says, "Honor your father and mother so that your life will be long on the fertile land that the Lord your God is giving you." Honor your parents is not about obeying them. It's about honoring the stories that they lived out and continuing those stories and the covenantal promise that's held in them. It's recognizing that you stand on their shoulders and that you would not be here without those who came before. Because when your story is intimately tied with the divine covenant, as the people of God's story was, this honoring is absolutely vital. And it's communal. It's not something that just one person does, but because the people of God are a covenantal people, not individuals, it's something all of us do together as God's people. Jesus' story was inextricably tied to the larger covenant story. And in the same way, all of us are tied to the larger covenantal story. And all of us are called to continue the story and the covenant of the people of God. This is the work to which we are called as a people of faith, and it is good, glory-producing work. And it's not easy. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it might even be a little painful. I mean, sometimes reality really muddies and complicates the work of honoring your parents. How do you honor parents and their stories if you don't know them? How do you honor parents and their stories if you haven't been taught how to clearly define the difference between this idea of honoring and this idea of obeying, when obeying might be a negative and hard and hurtful thing? How do you honor parents who don't seem worthy of that honor? I had to, last semester, walk alongside a student who told their parents that they were no longer going to be in relationship with them because of the abuse that had happened while they were growing up. They were trying hard to still honor their parents and the stories they told, while also setting a healthy boundary to keep themselves safe. That is hard work. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's really, really hard to honor your parents. And yet, while Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, God appeared to Moses. And what's interesting is in this scene that unfolds, Moses ends up hiding his face, but it's not when he sees the burning bush. It's not when he hears the voice of God speak his name. It's not when God says that he's standing on holy ground. It's when God says, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, that Moses hides his face because he does not want to be seen by God, and he is afraid to look at God. He can't bear to be seen or to see the one who has made this covenantal relationship with his people. Not after murdering, not after deserting, not after running as far away as possible from the story that he's supposed to be telling, to instead tell a different story. Disconnected from his family, disconnected from his people, disconnected from his God. And honestly, I get the need to run away. I get the need to distance oneself from their family and the stories that they tell. I viscerally get it. You see, there's a reason that I won't go into the Burnett HEB anymore. There's a reason that I don't go to family reunions or holiday get-togethers. There are family members that I'm not comfortable being in relationship at all with anymore, and others that it is strained at best. I don't want to interact with them because it's a constant reminder of brokenness and of desertion. Not mine, as in the case of Moses, but from someone that I love dearly and who doesn't want to be in connection with me. Because of the decisions that others have made, honoring my parents is hard work. And God made a way for Moses. And Jesus' genealogy shares a story of the highs and the lows that accompany him and go with him throughout his life and ministry. Murderers, rapists, deserters, betrayers, and so much more are part of the story that Jesus holds and that Jesus bears with him with every step. And And if God can make a way for that to happen, if Jesus can honor their story, friends, there's a way for us to do it as well. Beloved of God, we bear the stories of those who came before us. We are a mosaic of all those whose shoulders we stand on top of. We would not be here without them, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. May we find a way to engage the hard, holy work of honoring our parents. May we do this when it's easy, yes, but may we do this especially when it is hard. And when it seems impossible, may God make a way. Amen.